Hello, it's wrap-up time. Welcome to my August wrap-up. Sorry, I was just looking at my laptop because I have my GOODREADS pulled up on there. And I need it as a cheat sheet to see what I read. Anyway, happy September. I can't believe August is finally over. My August was crazy. Like crazy. To quote Muna, I knew before it started this August would be a hard one. Anyway, it was a hard one, but I read a lot, so that's good. So why am I leading on this? Hey, I read 6 books in total. Out of these 6, I read 5 on my Kindle and 1 physical copy, which I didn't even finish the physical copy because I switched to the audiobook at some point, but I'll talk about it when we get there. Yeah, I'm really making use of my library card and my Kindle. And yeah, I put so many books on hold all the time, and I had quite a few good ones come in during August, so my reading was kind of determined by my library holds, which is good. It kind of takes away the pressure of choosing a new book. But yeah, let's talk about the books that I read in August. Okay, we have to get this out of the way. And it is in fact the first book that I read in August, but I'm not necessarily ashamed because I don't think there's a lot of, or there shouldn't be a lot of shame in reading. But it's very much out of character for me, but it served a certain purpose. The first book I read was Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. I know, not my typical genre, but for some reason I had put this on hold at the library like months ago because someone was talking about it online. I don't even remember who it was. Anyway, I thought, oh, interesting, a cowboy romance. I mean, I have a slight obsession with cowboys. My friends know this. So I thought, okay, why not? I think I'm still holding out for the same feeling that Emily Henry gives me, but I'm afraid no one will ever give me the same feeling in the literary genre of romance. But this one came through and I thought, okay, I'm just gonna, read it. If I don't like it, I can DNF. I can DNF it after 1 chapter if I want to. But I have to say, this book, I got this trick from my friend Chelsea of reading a certain type of book at night in bed on your Kindle. So I really only read this book at night before going to sleep on my Kindle, and it worked because it put me to sleep. That was the purpose. It put me to sleep. I am known to have very bad insomnia, like very bad insomnia. I've had it for all my life. We don't have to get into it. And I usually fall asleep with the television on, but this book also did the trick. So yeah, I would just read this until I fell asleep, and it was perfect because I really have to say, to me, this was an empty book. Like, you have some romance tropes, you have a little bit of storyline, that's it. It's just, you can read it, your brain doesn't have to do anything. I wasn't that invested in the characters. I could just, fall asleep whilst reading this. So, I don't know. I can't even say I enjoyed it. I'm just saying it served a very specific purpose and it did that quite well. So, and yeah, I have put the second one in the series on hold at the library because, I need my cowboy romance to fall asleep, especially after a night out. This was perfect. I came home, just read like 2 pages, asleep. So yeah, cowboy romance, something new in my life. Who would have thought? Next up, I read Carla by Colin Walsh, which was our book club book, our most recent one. We just had our meeting 2 days ago, and this was actually my pick. I gave it 3 stars, I believe. So this was a story about a friend group in Ireland in the 90s, and one of them dies. Carla, the girl, dies. In this book we have 2 timelines. So we have the teenage friend group and the friend group once they're adults, and every chapter is written from a different perspective. So structurally it's everything I like. I like different timelines, I like different points of views. Yeah, also story-wise it started out really strong for me, but towards the middle it kind of, yeah, I kind of lost interest a little bit. I thought it could have been so much shorter, and also I think I had different expectations because I would see this book in the bookshop, like just in the literary fiction section, and I thought it would be lit fic but with a crime element, but this really was a thriller, I would say. If you're interested, definitely check the trigger warnings, because I didn't really do that and I had to skip certain parts because there is some pretty severe animal cruelty being depicted in this book, so I had to kind of, yeah, leave those parts out, and also just, you know, maybe check what the book is about in general, because it does have a lot of very heavy topics in it. But yeah, overall it was a great read. It was just, yeah, it was a good book. Wouldn't necessarily reread it, but yeah, if you're looking for a good thriller set in Ireland, and you like different timelines and very much connect to characters when you're reading, you can definitely give this one a go. Okay, next up is my physical book, and I have to preface this by saying this was the biggest disappointment of my reading year so far. And I'm still quite sad about it. Yeah, I read Julia Armfield's new book, Private Rights, and this was one of my highly anticipated books of 2024. And it really didn't do it for me. I don't know, I really wanted to love it, but she made it very hard for me. I have to say the prose in this one is once again amazing. I had read Our Wives Under the Sea, her first book, I believe, and I'm obsessed with that one. And again, in this one, her writing style is just immaculate, but I don't know, for some reason the story didn't really work for me. It was very much all vibes, no plot, whilst trying to have a plot. So I feel like it just, yeah, it didn't really work. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't a well-running machine. I don't know how to say it. And yeah, I kind of got bored, so I had to switch to the audiobook to finish it, because I was very close to actually DNFing it at some point. But yeah, I don't know. This is a story about 3 sisters whose father is a very famous architect, and the story is set in, I would say, a near future London that has kind of drowned. So climate change in this story manifests itself in rain, flooding, just basically a city underwater. And this father who dies is known for these buildings that are able to quite literally rise above the water. Yeah, again, I feel like Julia Armfield really likes water. And I love that she's incorporating very realistic aspects of climate change and the climate crisis in her books. But for some reason, I don't know, I couldn't connect to it. Yeah. I feel like people either love or hate this. Not hate, but they either love it or they don't really connect with it. So this could go either way if you pick this up. Yeah, it's sad, but it's just how I felt. The next book I was also very much looking forward to reading. It's Piglet by Lottie Hazel, I think. Which, if you're on the internet, you've been seeing this probably everywhere for the last few months. Once again, I got this through the library and I read it on my trip to Estonia. I went to Estonia with my work for a week. And yeah, I think again I gave 3 stars because I really liked the concept. So this is about a woman who is very close to her wedding day and she finds out that her husband has been having an affair. And she deals with these rather upsetting news by eating a lot. So this is very much a book about food, about nourishing yourself in all the ways, good or bad, I would say. How food can be a coping mechanism, how food can be very problematic, or at least you can have a very problematic relationship with food. So I would say definitely check the trigger warnings. If you have been struggling with food in the past, maybe skip this one, or at least be aware that it might affect you. So yeah, as I've said, I really liked the concept. I thought the writing was amazing, but I have to say it could have been a short story. It was very much giving creative writing course, not in a bad way, but you could tell that this novel was very much thought through technically, and I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it kind of lacked a little bit of, you know, heart. So again, the concept amazing, but as a short story I would have loved it probably. As a novel it was a little bit too long for me. All right, 2 more books. The next one again was another Kindle read. It was Worry by Alexander Tanner. Now I have to think about Full House because of Tanner. Well, anyway, again, I was very excited to read this because I had heard so many great things about this book. And to be honest, this could have been a 5-star read. This could have been a 5-star read if it hadn't been for the ending. I hate when this happens. The ending completely ruined the book for me. And anyway, this is a story about 2 sisters. I think it's written from the older sister's perspective. A lot of books about sisters recently. Interesting. Anyway, it's written from the older sister's perspective, and her younger sister is kind of trying to figure her life out, and she's moving in with her older sister. So they live in New York in this tiny apartment, and it's very much a slice of life story. It's very much, I don't know, it felt a little bit like watching Girls. It very much reminded me of the TV show Girls, if it was set in the now. So you have all these internet references, these pop culture references. The internet in general, especially social media, plays a huge role, and I think it was so interesting in how far social media is depicted in this novel as a kind of escapism that, you know, could be bad for you, but also it's just a very human thing to kind of escape into social media nowadays. So I thought this aspect was done beautifully in this novel. It was so funny. I had to laugh out loud so many times. So yeah, I had a great time with this book, but the ending, it was so bad and so unnecessary. It escalated to a place where it didn't have to go. So yeah, I don't know. It was not only what happens in the end that I really didn't like and I felt was very unnecessary. It also had like this open end, and I don't know what's going on with me, but for some reason I cannot stand that at the moment. I feel like it's been so overdone, and every book that I read kind of has an open end, and I don't know, I'm just getting sick of it a little bit, to be honest. So yeah, please authors, please. Can I have a story that actually finishes? Thank you. Okay, and finally another open-end one, but for some reason it didn't irk me quite that bad with this one, because it kind of fits the story. But the final book that I read this month, The Husbands by Holly Gramazio. I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. Anyway, I had such a great time. This was such a fun read. It was very plotty, which I kind of needed after Worry. So there's this woman and she goes out with a friend for a night out, and she lives in London, and after the night out she comes back to her flat and there's a man there. And this man is her husband, and she doesn't even know this man. But for some reason, something happened, and she is now very much married to this guy who's in her flat. And she kind of, you know, plays along. And yeah, it soon turns out that he's not the only husband that she encounters throughout this novel. So yeah, I just had a great time. And that's why I gave it 4 stars, because for a great time, I sometimes just have to give 4 stars. I have a reading vlog on this, so I'm trying not to repeat myself too much, but I would definitely recommend this book to all of my friends, because I feel like everyone would enjoy this. It's just a very entertaining book. It's clever, it's funny, it's sarcastic. It has these stressful moments where you really feel for the main character, and you're rooting for her to kind of figure this out. But yeah, I think everyone would probably enjoy reading this, so maybe pick it up and give it a go. So yeah, summer reading is officially over. I'm very much ready for colder weather, and I'm very much ready for spooky reads, and I'm ready to get cozy with blankets and pumpkin spice everything. And yeah, let's hope the weather will cooperate soon. So did you have a favorite book that you read in August? Please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. You can subscribe to this channel. And yeah, thanks for joining me in my August wrap up, and I'll see you soon. Bye!